All right, everybody, welcome to a live streamed episode of the Truth Speaks broadcast. This is this is a first. I want you all to understand that this is something that is not something that we're not doing for like popularity's sake or just because it's a part of a podcast or just because this tonight. We have some amazing people from all walks of life, from all kinds of backgrounds, from every community around here. If you know me and you're a friend on my social media platforms, then you know I know a little bit of everybody. So when my husband and I, actually, honestly, to tell you the truth, my husband made this call to action. And I am so glad that he did, because at the end of the day, why are we here? At the end of the day, we're here because we care about our children. We care about our sons. We care about our daughters, but most of all, our sons, they need to hear us say and see that we care. So that's why we're here. All of these wonderful people that are here with us today, and I don't know if you can see them out there, but it's a beautiful picture that we see here on the Truth Speaks set of men from all over the place who came because we asked, but not just because we asked, but because they care about our sons. So tonight we're going to discuss. And if you've been watching and paying attention to the Truth Speaks podcast, then you know that there's a message behind every episode that we air. But at the same time, we try to keep it light because we want to kind of make sure that folks stay tuned in. But there's always a message. But tonight, I'm not going to shy away from this being a heavy conversation. There may be some laughter, maybe. But I know that I should have some tissue in my hands because every time I think about our children, especially our sons, our black sons, and I'm already trying to get started. I'm not trying to, y'all, but I can't help it because I have a son. He'll be 23 this year, and even though he's chronologically grown, right? He's still my baby. And I have a hard time, and I know that he has to go out in the world and live his life, but I have a hard time every time I see his name pop up, and I'm just gonna be real. Every time I see his name pop up on my phone, my heart skips a beat, especially if he calls me in the middle of the night, or even if it's 8 o'clock at night and I get a phone call and it's him. I'm wondering, is he all right? And I'm sure that a lot of mamas feel that way for various reasons. So we're here tonight to talk about the ails, not the L's, but the ailments of our community. And one of those main issues is gun violence. It's plaguing our community. It's an issue that gives us all pause. And more than pause, it's an issue that grieves us all. And I'm gonna stop running my mouth and rambling. What we're gonna do right now is I want you to see all of these wonderful people. We'll start here on this side with me, and we're gonna have everyone to introduce themselves if we could do that. So we'll start right here.
Awesome. Well, I'm Shawn Mason. I'm a licensed professional counselor.
Thank you for being here, Shawn. Absolutely. I think everybody probably knows who this wonderful woman is, right?
I am Frankie Bell. I am an advocate for our youth, and I'm a renowned educator. Just sold out of education, but I'm here because I am just sold out to our children, especially our black boys.
Absolutely. And if you know her, then you know that to be true. So, and we're gonna shift to the sofa. We're gonna start with this young man right here, who everybody knows, probably all over the country. Go ahead, sir. Tell us who you are, where you're from, what business you represent. I know you have probably 10 or 20, but go ahead and introduce yourself to the people.
Well, my name is Tipton Dobbs. I'm from LaGrange. I live here in Lynette, Alabama. I own Dobbs Transportation, a pastor of the church, and a retired chief of police.
Thank you. And we'll just go down the line. Just introduce yourselves. The camera is on you.
My name is Dandrick Daniel. From Lafayette, but I stay in Roanoke. A coach, hard-working father, mentor kids.
Thank you so much for being here. That's my family, y'all.
My name is Reggie Lewis. I'm the co-founder of the organization called Cure Violence Columbus, Georgia. Former police officer in Columbus, from Phoenix City, Alabama. Currently working at TSYS Global Payments. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate y'all. I really do. Sir?
I'm Reginald Dunn from the Valley. I'm assistant pastor of Chosen Generation in Lafayette. I have a Let's Talk Man-to-Man segment that we do every Thursday, every first Thursday of the month. And we just gather as men talking real talk, as well as the young men as well. So that's what we do.
Absolutely. And that's every Thursday?
Well, it actually is we gather every first Thursday of the month.
Okay.
Which is this Thursday coming up. We gather down at the Corner Shack, located in the Valley. But we come on a conference call every Thursday at 7 o'clock, as well as the same time that we gather. But it's 7 o'clock, and we just come on and talk about real issue. Well, as like this setting here, men's come together, and God gave me to come together to talk real talk.
Absolutely.
And to keep it confined within us, giving us an atmosphere where we can open up and talk about life issues.
I did that purposely. I wanted you to repeat that, and we'll get your information and share it again, but I wanted to make sure people heard that. Thank you so much for being here. Young man, tell us who you are.
My name is Ladarius Colbert. I'm from Columbus, Georgia. I'm just seeking a path of change, trying to help give back to Columbus especially. I was once part of the gang wars down there, so I understand, the future goal in trying to help these young men. Plus, it's a mass incarceration going on, and I'm against it.
That's right.
So that's my goal. That's who I am.
And how old are you, Ladarius?
34.
Okay. So you're still a young man.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. I know y'all, we old, but we make old look good though. But Ladarius, thank you so much for being here.
Appreciate that.
And young sir, who are you?
I'm Kelvin Mosley from Lafayette, Alabama. We all know, but we reside in LaGrange, and I'm just a mentor and advocate for our young youth.
Okay. Sir.
My name is Zeke Parks from LaGrange, Georgia. I'm here basically because I got twin boys, 22 years old. And I'm like Ms. Moses said, when that phone rang late at night, I got one son up in Memphis, Tennessee at Rose College. I got another one down at Southern Union. So when that phone rang,
Heart stop.
your heart stopped.
Yeah.
So glad to be here.
Thank you so much. Sir?
My name is Howard Gilbert. I'm a part of a Reggie group as well, Entrepreneur, and I also got a group in LaGrange that we do Bible study every Saturday morning from 10 to 12 o'clock in the morning, and very powerful.
Okay.
Study, men really being transformed, change their life.
I love that. I didn't know that. We'll make sure we get your information as well.
Right.
Thank you so much for being here. Sir?
All right, Quay Body from LaGrange, Georgia, author, MC, speaker, community servant, and a lot of other stuff that don't matter. But glad to be here.
Thank you. Sir?
Jimmy Jackson. I'm from Auburn, Alabama. I serve the community for the Greater Lee County area. I currently reside in Chambers County, Lafayette. I am a community DJ. I'm on a social club scene.
Mentor.
For the last 30 plus years. 30 plus years. I also work at a youth development center.
Yes.
With at-risk kids.
Yes.
So I get to see, the other side of it as well. So hopefully I can bring some enlightenment on that end.
Thank you, sir, for being here. Yes, sir?
I'm Bernard Runder. I'm with Empowerment 3D Inc., which is in LaGrange, and I think you guys have interviewed us a couple of times with Jerome Cofield.
Yes.
And we are actually a mentorship program where we're working with men, young boys, young men. So our thing is to get into the community, get with the young men, and show them a better light. The gun violence, as part of the topic, is a big issue which our program was affected by it.
Absolutely.
Around April the 12th, and we'll probably get around to discussing that a little bit later.
Right. Thank you so much, sir, for being here. One more.
My name is Chris Brown. I'm from Columbus, Georgia. Probably grew up through most of the gang activity that we see now. Was a part of it for a long time. Had a guy gave me the opportunity to start sharing my life when I wanted to make some changes, which led to me, speaking, doing gang awareness, linking up with Mr. Lewis here and helping to run his program as their coordinator. So we do, gang awareness trainings, go to communities, just do a various, bunch of various things. And I'm just glad to be here to see this part of my life. From where Mr. Colbert coming from, now I was in that position and
Right.
making some changes. I want to show people that even though I have some flags in my background, I was able to turn them around based on young men who gave me an opportunity, and now I'm just doing great things, and I'm just thankful to God for that.
Thank y'all so much again. And listen, we're live. And we're not gonna try to act like this is a seamless broadcast. So what I want to do right now, I know y'all are men and y'all's phones aren't extra appendages like us women. But what I want you all to do, everybody, if you have your phone with you, go ahead and go to your Facebook and share. I don't know if you're not my Facebook friend, you probably don't have the link, but if you see the link on my page, just share it with your group of people. But if you're not a Facebook friend of mine, I'm DEE Mosley on Facebook, or if you want to go directly to YouTube and look for Truth Speaks with DEE Mosley. It's okay. It's okay. We gonna get it together. But you could go to YouTube. You could go to YouTube if you're not a Facebook friend and look for Truth Speaks with DEE Mosley, and go ahead and share that to your Facebook friends, because we want to make sure as many eyes are on. I'm confirming some friend requests here. Yep, that's me. Share. If you see it, the live should be at the very top video. I just saw. Tag and share. And give everybody about 2 more minutes, and we're going to go into what we're doing. Good. So while everybody is still looking for that, I'm literally going to read some information, and we're going to open the conversation from there. So the first thing that I want to put out there for us to grab a hold of is the risk factors. What are the risk factors? Where is all of this coming from? Where is the anger coming from? Where is the frustration, all of the issues? And the information that's out there, I'm literally going to read it. And my question is, what are the risk factors that are so often the root causes? What's the root? And this is what the professionals, or what they're saying. The root causes of gun violence is the top issue is mental health issues. And y'all let me know if this is right. They're saying mental health issues, substance abuse, association with groups who engage in criminal behavior, poverty, inadequate housing, economic hardship, access to firearms. And that was a big one for me. I'm gonna just put a pin in that one right there for me. That was a big one for me when my kids were small. And I'm a veteran. I'm no stranger to weapons. But for me, and it wasn't anything that my husband and I ever kind of really talked about, but my concern and my fear when my children were small is that I didn't want any guns in my home, because I didn't want there to be a mistake of them picking it up. So, and that stayed with me. I don't think my husband even really knew that was one of the reasons why I didn't want any weapons in the house. But that was in my mind. again, I had no issue with weapons, but I just did not want there to be something that would happen just in case, you know. So that was an issue for me to have access in the home when they were smaller. Another root cause they say is trauma within the home, media exposure, and social isolation. So are they spot on with those issues, sirs?
Yeah, all of it.
All of it.
All of it.
Yeah.
I mean, the trauma that you talk about is called ACE. That's adverse childhood experiences as well as adverse community exposure. That's the poverty, that's the trauma, that's the abuse, that's the discrimination, that is the hopelessness. All of those are factors. And if you have 4 or more of those, you're at a 51 to 60% opportunity to become a victim or an offender of gun violence. And when you look at where most of these incidents occur, and you overlay it with the demographics of where it occurs, you see the poverty. In Columbus, we have Southside Columbus, has the highest violent rate. It's at 38% poverty rate. $24,000 median income in that area.
$24,000.
$11 an hour. But livable wage, where you can support yourself, is almost $20 an hour. And then housing value.
So that's below the poverty line.
And so you look at the housing value, it's $54,000 compared to $162,000 in the rest of Georgia. So when you have all those factors on top of it, and then you have generational trauma, which could be a mother who's 45 who has a 30-year-old daughter, who has a 15-year-old daughter, who has a 1-year-old child.
Right.
That's generational
Wow.
trauma that
Wow.
has been broken. So all of what you said comes into play. It's just which ones do you have? So it's in the black community.
So what do you do with that? I mean, and every time we have this conversation, I find myself talking to professionals that are either counselors or that speak to these things, and it's always what you just said, all of it. I just had a conversation with someone who said, there's so many layers. So if that is the case, and it is the case, just as much as it was in 1950, 60, the layers are still here in 2025. So how do you begin to peel back the layers to the answers? I mean, is it too big and too much for us to? Where do we start?
Yeah, I think first you have to recognize it's not a light switch. That's it.
The reason why I'm just sitting here at the edge of my seat, because you're seeing all the trauma, you're seeing all the lack of this, but however, we don't push, and I'm not talking about a PhD, I'm not talking about a college degree. We don't push basic skills in the home anymore. So as I'm sitting here, a product of alcoholic mom, absent father, abuse, every opponent, I was A squared. But what helped me I was A squared. So what helped me was the fact that somebody introduced me, and Mr. Jimmy Jackson knows about the village because he lived in a neighborhood that I didn't even live in. I just spent the night at somebody's house. So it was just that bad for me. Like, we didn't have our own bed, we didn't have our own anything. So, and what I'm trying to get people to understand is the problem is deeper than the surface thing and us coming together. What are our priorities when we get here?
What are our priorities?
So when you're not speaking, if you're not doing simple educational techniques and skills, we keep letting that out of the conversation. When you got a kid who can't read,
that's good.
You all know that the average 8th grade male reads on a 1st to 3rd grade level. So you're talking about a kid who cannot read, trying to bring him out of poverty, and you don't want him to go to a game because they accept him. We need to understand we're dealing with some serious
Dr. Bell.
stuff here. They can't read.
So they find acceptance where they find it.
And I love the fact that mental health is a great piece. I love that piece. I'm a preacher, so I'm going to throw that in too, because we need the faith.
Exactly.
And I love all of that. But until we teach our people that basic skill knowledge, until we stop clapping for stuff that doesn't get them out of trauma, like the shoes, I'm all for all the athletes. My son was an athlete. But until we push reading the way we push football, I ain't gonna get a lot of likes on it now.
Right.
You're absolutely right,
But
though.
you can't read.
But Dr. Bell, what do you do with that? And I hear you, but what do you do with that when you're trying to tell an uneducated? And when I say uneducated, I'm not talking about degrees or anything like that, but I'm talking about a mama who is living in the bricks, and she probably had her kid at 13, 14, and that's a real number, because I have family members that had children at 13, but maybe she doesn't have the skills to help her son to be where he is, and that's why he's in the 7th grade and he's barely reading at a 5th grade level. How do you what's the answer for that?
Bring your education out the meeting. We don't need you to let no mama know you have got a PhD. When I go to a meeting with a parent, she doesn't need to know I'm Dr. Bell. She doesn't need to know any of that. Let them realize, let them be part of the conversation. Stop having meetings at the times when you know they can't be there. Stop assuming everybody don't want to be around their child. And just stop bringing on your high education to the conversation.
Meet them where they are.
If she can't read, if she's reading on a 3rd grade level, using words like abundance and stuff, just these words that don't make sense, you're trying to make her feel inferior to you, when the key is she needs to know that you have her back.
That's good.
And the bottom line is always this: I'm an advocate for your child, and we got to stop being quiet because we don't want to offend people.
That's it.
People are so scared to offend.
That's why
I'm gonna offend you. If you're around me 10 minutes, you will be offended.
That's why I wanted to do this.
I'm trying to save a life. I don't care about your feelings, but a part of that is we are saving all the children and sending them home to broken parents.
To broken parents, exactly. Yes.
I mean, one part of it, I do agree with you, and my wife is a school teacher, and I see kids, older kids too, that can't read. But let's speak one fact. As blacks, we hadn't always had, lived in good areas and had good jobs and things of that nature. We was in poverty, but we still had community.
Community.
But now they don't have the support within the community.
Right.
They're in survival mode, trying to worry about how I'm gonna pay this bill.
Right.
How can I get somebody in here to help me with these kids?
Yeah.
And then the outside community, for the most part, who, and I don't want to make them seem like they wrong for taking care of their family.
Absolutely.
But it's a separation.
It is.
They moved out the hood.
It is, sir.
And in Columbus, most of our gifted people leave the city.
Right.
Most of Columbus is retired military and people who couldn't leave.
Absolutely.
So our talent leaves. So there's no connection.
They live on the outskirts.
The middle class, the upper class that comes in and says, "Hey, we're here to support you." And there's no community within the community. Everybody on survival mode. So that's why it's so hard for that parent to focus on. Boy, sit down and read these books, do your homework. A lot of parents out in the world trying to earn a check or
Yes,
worry
sir.
about the next meal.
Yes,
One
sir.
thing that I've been listening to and I've been hearing, and Dr. Bell, you brought it up really, really good. This 13-year-old girl which have a baby and things like that, what you just brought up, that parent. Listen to what we're saying. That parent.
Right.
What about the parents?
Correct.
And what one key thing I've haven't heard it mentioned, what about the men?
That's it.
What about the men? We're talking about gun violence. What about the men? What about the men there? Hey, it's okay if dad is educated on guns, that's fine. Therefore, he can send out his child and teach his child, has his child teach on not just shooting a gun, but on gun safety. Things like that.
That's good, sir.
Not just that. All these other things. We're talking about education, children. Hey, back in the day, if there was 2 parents in that house, that dad set the standard. Guess what? That standard was not broken. That standard was not broken. So it's a lot of that. We deal with some of these guys, and we deal with some good guys, but just don't have guidance.
Can I just piggyback on what you said? Because I don't want to send a message that I'm talking about a formal education. Back in the day, because I have a PhD, so I have to make that very clear. I could care less about that when I'm in this setting. But back in the day, even though our granddaddy and grandmama couldn't read, They taught us basics.
They did.
They taught us yes, ma'am.
And it
no,
stayed
ma'am.
with you.
Thank you.
That's right.
They taught them how to write a check. They taught them how to read the Bible. What I'm telling you, we don't have in schools is basic reading skills. I'm telling you that the sons that you all are seeing in our schools have no basic sentence structure. I don't need them to have a PhD. I don't even need them to be able to be in advanced math. I just need them to be able to write a sentence, to write their name, to be able to know when they're being used, to be able to know the base. So even though my grandmother didn't have a 3rd grade education, she taught me how to read the Bible. Even though my grandmother had 14 kids and she never went to college, she taught me basic life techniques about how to be a good person. And those are the things that I'm talking about we are missing education-wise. Now, we got time for everything. I'm gonna have to go back to this, and I probably won't send enough tonight. They may not have time to sit down and read that passage. But they sure got time
I was about to touch
be
on
at
that.
these football games and be there all day long into the nightfall. All I'm saying, give us 10 minutes of that. The people that are on the internet, they blowing up with all these. I just want you to take 5 minutes. You don't even have to have it, but then we have resources for you. If you can't read, that's okay. But again, us as leaders, we got to take our hats off and let you feel welcome. But I don't make an excuse, because I'm dealing with these 8th grade boys who can't make sentence structures and they feel inferior. So you don't see their face when they can't take a test. You don't see how they feel defeated when they get 10, or they would say that they're on a 3rd grade level. I'm telling you, we didn't have the social media and the Facebook and the Instagram and the TikTok that they could know that they're behind when we were growing up, so they can look and see that they can't read now. That's all I'm saying. I don't want to send a message. I don't care about how many degrees they got. I just need these mamas and daddies. And y'all, where you at? I need you to give us 10 minutes of your time and do whatever if you need help, DEE Mosley can get you the help you need.
Absolutely.
So, do you understand?
I agree with you.
I get about the survival mode.
And it's like I said, some of these parents just don't get it. But even on the child side, I'm gonna just let you know, I do have some college education now. I don't have no PhD. No. But I'm gonna say this: I was kicked out of every school I ever went to, starting from kindergarten. It's hard, even for these young men, to be in school,
I can attest to that.
living with the problems that they face with,
I can attest
and
to that.
even focus on school.
When
I went to school, it was almost like I'm gonna lay my head on my desk. It's my peaceful moment.
because you just left all of that trauma, and I can also attest to that. And my husband wants to say something, but even the kids that our children, I'm talking about our boys, even our children who come from places where they may feel protected and safe when they're in the confines of their home. My son is getting ready to graduate from college in December, but he's had, moments where he's stressed to the max because he's dealing with all of the stress and pressures of the world coming down on him. I mean, we got a call from him in the middle of the night. I think it was his sophomore year. And what I feared would happen. Right. He was face to face with a cop. My son was calling me at 10 o'clock at night. I'm 4 hours away from him, telling me that, Mama, this cop is in my face. He don't believe that I'm supposed to be here. And I'm like, literally. So it's more than just the lack of. It's everything for them. It doesn't matter where they come from. Right. It doesn't matter if they come from a 2-parent home. They gotta go out there. Right. And we don't. And when they go out there, we other than covering them in prayer, that's all we got.
I wanted to add something more so from the mental health perspective, and just wanted to tie in Dr. Frankie and also Mr. Lewis. Kind of the perspective. So when we think about mental health or mental illness, how it contributes to gun violence, mental illness is not a predictor of gun violence, right? It can be a contributing factor. So just to clear that up, that mental illness is not the cause of it, but it definitely contributes to it. but some of the things to Mr. Lewis's point as far as, you know, the social, the economic factors, also the poverty, you know, lack of resources, those types of things are the things that contributes to, you know, the gun violence. And also mental illness, when we think about substance use abuse and things of the sort. But Mr. Lewis spoke a little bit about ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, right? And so with ACEs, the score is based on a 10 scale range, you know, things such as, you know, did you grow up in a household where, you know, there was abuse, you know, was there substance use, was there violence, you know, all those types of things that kind of adds to children being predisposed to childhood trauma, right? And so when we think about ACEs and how that kind of contributes to where we are. So one of the things about ACEs that I have to clear up all the time is that ACEs has nothing to do with race, right? We think about, you know, all those factors. ACEs has nothing to do with race. So that's all across, whether you're black, white, Asian, like, those are things that you can be exposed to. But one of the things about ACEs is that when you think about the score 4 or higher, right, our black community, right, we're in the higher percentage of who is being exposed to a higher ACEs score. So when it comes to the high ACEs score, there's a correlation between high ACEs scores, anxiety, depression, PTSD, those of the sort, right? And so when we think about anger issues and all those things that perhaps our young men or our black community face, like, those are also some of the things that we think about when we're contributing to gun violence. So that goes back to the educational piece that we talked about when it comes to the parents, right? So the knowledge of kind of what I'm exposing my child to at an early age, like, we have a responsibility, not to say that that's the thing to correct everything, but that's the thing, again, that we talked about that contributes, right? And so how or what I expose my child to, you know, the living arrangements that we don't always have, you know, the control over, because we talked about poverty and things of the sort, but kind of having that knowledge of what am I exposing my child to, and kind of how that contributes to as they get older, and kind of how they respond to life. And also, and I'm going to be done here, thinking about that from a mental health, right? So we think about anxiety, depression, all those things. So now we also think about the stigma when it comes to how we treat that, right? So we are higher in a percentage of ACEs scores, and guess what? We're also higher as far as the black community in a percentage that don't seek mental health, right? And so we're high in everything, all right? So thinking about that, like, we may not always have the answers here, you know, and sometimes it is the experts, you know, God put the professionals here, you know, to have that discernment and, you know, and things to help correct certain things. So just a lot of different, having access to resources, you know, that is sometimes one of the things when we think about the lack of education, just working to seek resources, because we can't do it all. It's the village.
Right, exactly. Did anybody want to add anything to that? Yes, sir.
You were saying about the men being in the home or whatever, you know, a lot of times, you know, the men want to be in the home. And another time, you know, it might be from, you know, having kids out of wedlock or being divorced or something like that. So Junior go home, he stay home with his dad, they living, they balling with him. So you go back home and you living, you know, check to check, you know, he got to go ahead and get that pack or whatever, he got to go out here and hustle. So, you know, they're going to stay in here. You might go get an OG or whatever to, you know, start doing the thing he doing, you know, against gun violence or whatever like that. So
we also got to make sure that we're not judgmental. The biggest thing I always hear is, we're the parents. Well, how do you know the parent ain't trying?
Right.
You know, so we got to not be judgmental. That's the first thing. The second thing would be, we have to build up all involved parties, meaning the kids, the mama, the daddy, who's ever in the household. Build them up. One of my biggest phrases every day is that the world is already polluted enough. Try to be a breath of fresh air for somebody else. And that's with everybody I encounter, but especially with students and parents, for sure.
Ladarius, sir, did you have anything to add to that?
Well, I'd like to say, when you're doing collaborative action, or, you know, when y'all coming together, the social service groups that do hit the ground, you know, and start reaching out, they need to build like a confidentiality and a trustful relationship with the community that they building with. You know, like, I'm learning this right now. Mr. Reggie, you know, his former field and your former field to my past lifestyle, it's a bias barrier right there.
That's good.
So
that's
it's
good.
Like, you know, when I am reaching, or when he's offering help, his hands sometimes we didn't have this conversation. His hand sometimes to me looks like a trick. But
The
I could
trick
be
bag.
blinding myself. I could be. This could be true help. This could
Right,
be
that's
true
right.
help, and I don't want to do that anymore.
So how do you get past that?
Right now, I'm just trusting God.
That's
You know,
good.
I found the spiritual relationship with the Most High, and I stopped telling myself that I can't trust no one, because if I can't trust no one, then I don't trust my judgment.
Yeah,
So
because
it's
I
a
think that's where a
contradiction.
lot of you all are. Because honestly, again, I gauge what I know from my son, and he has trust issues with police officers, just because of the experiences that he's had. So again, the question to you all is how do we deal with the fact, Mr. Tifton and Mr. Reginald, how do we handle that? Yes, sir. I'm sorry, Ladarius, one more.
Excuse me, can I say one more thing? See, when it comes to trust, you got to understand the culture that's being passed on, which is slimeism.
Right. It's all about the culture.
You know, the culture slimeism, and I'm not saying it as to the offended, you know, but understanding it promotes cutthroatness, it promotes disloyalty, it promotes, you know, betrayal in some forms of fashion, more so than it promotes loyalty and a connection and unity. So when this occurs through your life so much as a young age, you feel like, all right, I can't trust this person. Like if you're not coming from my common ground, I can't trust you. Because I can't even trust the ones that's in the same seat as me.
That's good.
Mr. Tiffany, did you want to add something to that?
Well, I want to go back to what you said, you know, how do we peel off this? How do we go back? Y'all basically already said a whole lot of stuff to get to the peel back part. When we started the Cop for a Week program here, it was back in 2009, 2010. I started the program because most of the burglaries was being committed by kids from 9 to 13 at that time. And then if you go back and look at why they was doing what they was doing, it all steams back to teenage pregnancy.
Really?
And then because most of the young women that get pregnant, they want to move out immediately.
Right.
They want to go to a housing project. And then so they
Wow.
go to the housing project. And so what's the most public thing if they out of school? School is a public place for people to meet. So what's the next public thing? It's the church. So church is not doing, they ain't doing home ec, they ain't teaching them how to
Talk
cook,
about
they
it,
ain't
sir.
teaching them how to raise the
Talk
kids,
about it.
you know. And so they move into a housing project, and then they might get some subsidy from the government or whatnot. They don't do wise with those things. They sell them or whatnot. So the child going to a school that don't have a uniform, that cut down a lot of our crime once we went to the uniforms. And so the child want to look like the other kids, wearing the sneakers. And
That's it right there. I was waiting for somebody
so
to
parents
say
can't
that.
buy it, then they hook up with the game. Get in the game, you got to hit the lick. You hit a lick, then you want you're gonna break it in the house, and then you're gonna start stealing guns and jewelry. Once you get guns, you're gonna get drugs. Then while you're hitting the lick, now you're making more money selling drugs. And so once you start selling drugs, you get a gun, now you can start killing. So now we're changing the bloodline to now what every cop, and he probably could say the same thing, is that why are black kids and blacks being shot and killed? Because it's just like what you feel safe at petting a Pomeranian or petting a bulldog.
Right.
Wow.
So, as black cops, even stopping our own,
That's good.
Golly.
Say it.
we already got the scrap
That's
bag,
right.
got the gun halfway out the holster because we stopped somebody black because of the bloodline that about to become a cultural thing.
So our fathers who are authority figures, police officers, sheriffs, you all are even I hate to even say it,
Say it.
but you're even afraid of our sons because you.
You know,
So what do you do with
That was
that?
in 2013.
What do you do with that?
In the year 2013, what's the guy that got killed? Trayvon?
Yeah.
Trayvon Martin.
In 2013,
Oh,
there were more black on black crimes in 2013 than there were from 1776 to 1865 during the slavery period of lynchings.
Where did that is that real?
It's
Is
on
that?
the internet.
It's real.
It's on the internet.
So,
2013, 1 year.
Yeah, and
Oh my goodness.
so I'm gonna say it from a law enforcement side, right? We all have unconscious biases that are based on limited experiences.
right.
That is it.
And what y'all are talking about, and I'm gonna go with what he was talking about earlier. The only way I knew I could talk to him is first I had to be honest about where I came from, who I am, right? So being open and honest and transparent is the first
Meet
stage.
meet each other where you are.
The second part was I didn't walk in the room to tell him what he did wrong. I walked in the room and say, look, this is my name, this is who I am, but I'm here to listen to you first.
Right.
The problem is we want to tell them what they need to do
Correct.
instead of
But
finding
sir,
out what they need.
did we get that from how we were raised? Did our parents and our grandparents taught us do as I say, not as I do?
Absolutely. Mine told me the same thing, but
It's
the
a
difference in
different
where we
generation.
got
Yeah.
is a different
Different
generation
generation,
where
most definitely.
we're not evolving to where
Oh,
they're
I'm not
at.
saying it's
No,
right.
I know, but we're not evolving to where they are.
Exactly.
We're taking our experiences, how we were brought up,
And trying to-
apply this
exactly.
experience that they don't have the same environment that we
Right.
came up in. So it's different environments. So you have to adapt to the environment. And if you want change, we can't keep saying this is how we used to do it. This is back in the day.
Say that
It
one
doesn't
more
happen
time.
that way anymore.
Yeah.
If
yeah.
we're not willing to sit down and say, if we're saying we're equal, then we need to show the action that we're equal. And that's by saying, I'm here to listen to you. That's the first thing. We got to be willing to sit down and listen to what they have to say because they have a strong voice, but they don't believe we want to
that we don't want to hear it.
Right.
And and you know, they have this whole thing the kids do now with we listen but we don't judge.
Right.
And they're not coming to us. They're going to one another because we're so closed off to them. Yeah. And they're bouncing what they want to say and be heard from us off of one another. Yeah. Because again, we're taking how we were raised and thinking that it's going to work in 2025 right. when it's not. Yeah. Mr. Bernard, can you share with the group, and there are a lot of men here that don't know what just happened to a young man in your organization just a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, it was around, I think, April the 12th, I do believe. Demarion Carter, he was in this yard.
And how old was he?
14 years old. And we knew this guy from age 9. So we actually watched him grow up. This young man, he came to every event. He had to. Mr. Cofield was picking him up and taking him home. So he was the first one at every event we had. First one there, the last one to leave. Someone came up to his yard while he was playing basketball. Mother, good mother. The very thing she tried to keep him from came up into his yard. We don't know all the details on what happened, but he took his life, took that young man.
Took his life. Yeah.
He took his life.
And this baby was a part of, his mom felt like she was doing everything, all the right things, getting him involved with a very male-centered mentor group that he was a part of for how many years?
For like 5 years.
For 5 years. So she thought she was doing all the right things, and the mentor group, they made sure that he was at every meeting that they had. But still,
Someone else.
I went to his funeral, 14 years old. So what do we do with that?
I mean, in Columbus, we had an incident, 14-year-old stepped off a school bus and got executed in front of his siblings. And
siblings are now shooting one another.
Well, and the bad thing with this one was his brother was just killed 8 months earlier.
So these are the things that we're facing.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the ACE, and that's the trauma, and that's the exposure that we're talking about. And
That's the word.
Exposure.
Yes, it's really what it is.
And is it also, that's a great word, exposure, because now social media,
I just about to say this.
Yeah.
they have access to every ill form of evil, and I'm just gonna use the word evil, that is out there. And not only that, we are accomplices Can I say that?
Most definitely.
Because we give them these things right here
When they're like this.
when they are this old. I fought it. I fought it. But then when you don't want to be looked at like you're the bad parent, or that you're not like. I'm just being honest. You're not like their mama.
Yeah.
So at some point you give in, and these are raising our children.
Not
But
only
look how
are we
much
giving
data
it to
is
them, we're
Yeah.
paying for them to become.
We're
us.
paying for them to have access and be exposed
Right.
to what is causing the anxiety. We use that word so much now. Anxiety, you
It's
know,
true.
and I know that. I get that, but we're pouring this into them.
So I want to ask y'all a question. I mean, and I'm asking this of the panel. So when he was talking about Trayvon Martin, right? Yes, that was an incident with a police officer. George Floyd was an incident with a police officer, right? But we have more black on black crime, and we don't rise up against that, but we rise up against police. And I'm speaking from law enforcement. Yeah, when I walk up to a car, I didn't care who you were. I didn't care who you were, but I've been robbed. I've been held at gunpoint by a black 16-year-old. And the funny thing about it was, one of the 16-year-olds that robbed me back in 1995 started working for me.
Oh my
And
God.
he didn't know it. And I was sharing the story of what happened, and he said that was me.
Wow.
And I say this to say one thing.
So how did you feel when he admitted to you that he was the guy?
I gave him a hug. We sat there and cried together. And the reason why is I want to know how he was. And the other 5, only one passed away, he drowned. 2 of them worked for fire departments. One is a battalion chief. And when you think about it, I want to know how he was. And he was more worried about how I was. That was a redemption moment for us, right? And when you think about that, how can we forgive? So as a police officer, one of the things I always had a problem with was I was always thinking, what does my decision do to this person?
Exactly.
Right? I had an incident, I got into it with one of my fellow officers where he had written this guy 5 tickets for the same charge. He had 5 kids in the car, no child restraint. And I said, so why didn't you just write him 1, take him to Walmart, Kmart, buy 4 child
Talk about
seats,
it.
right?
Talk
and
about
I said,
it.
so here's what's gonna happen. You got him that 5 tickets, he's not gonna show up for court, contempt of court, he gets arrested, can't go to work, loses his job, baby mama's on his case, he cuts out, he immediately goes and what he do? Armed robbery, and then you're saying, why this kid out here performing this armed robbery? Well, if you peel back far enough, you had a choice. You could have made a empathetic and a compassionate decision to say, brother, you're wrong, but let me write you, I'm gonna write you a warning, but we going over here, the Goodwill, Valley, wherever the resources are, let's get you some child seats. And that's the way I thought. So when I came into corporate America, and I started thinking, what can I do? My co-founder is a funeral home director. We had 5 funerals of young black males come through that funeral home. And when you hear a mother's cry, it changes. You don't forget it. Yeah. So as a police officer, it's based on my experience. Yeah, I had a shotgun pointed in my face. I've been jumped on by gang members. It still doesn't change the fact that I know they were lost.
Right.
But you're very your mindset is few and far between.
But we should, I'm looking at it from a Christian standpoint, right?
That's right.
How can I go home and sleep when I got my brother over here?
Exactly.
Right.
Please say that again.
How can I go home and sleep when I got my brother and my sister that can't even,
Feed
don't
their
have a place
children.
to stay, can't work, can't do anything? And then we wonder why we're seeing them. And we wonder why, if we're so Christian or so loving, why do we treat each other with so much disrespect?
You know, I know we say we don't judge the parents, because I'm a very big advocate on we better look for the parents. But I was a teen mother. See, that's a part that I didn't share. I had my baby, but I was one of the ones you talking about that was a survivor in survival mode. I didn't know how we were gonna eat, how we were
Exactly.
gonna eat, but I made a decision. See, it was all about a decision. But I implore everyone to just come to the schools and see what we're dealing with from the parents, because that's our biggest. I want to support the parents, but sometimes they don't give us the avenue to support them by how they treat us. And so then you take away that safe place for us.
That empathy.
Because I'm from, my mom was an alcoholic. I love her. She's gone to be with the Lord. But so I know how that is. So I don't judge mothers. I don't judge little boys. I mean, they sit in my office with me and we talk about everything. I'm very transparent. I was a teen mom. My mom was an alcoholic. I ain't have nowhere to live. I'm very upfront and honest. Transparency is the key. Yep. However, at some point, I'm with her. We are responsible as a 17-year-old mother without a mother. I want you to put, mine was on the job training. Yes. Yes, me and my daughter had those conversations that she didn't get the best. I didn't let her go nowhere because I was molested as a child. So I was over
that part. That's
so I didn't trust
another
anybody.
exactly.
So I was very hard on her. So, but I decided long ago that the educational part of me would move me from Ridgecrest. See, educated people, and I ain't talking about degrees at this point, they think differently than people that are uneducated. You want to believe this or not? Go into those high schools and look at those gifted kids that they place in there now. They separate those kids because they don't want them to be with the troublemakers. Those kids, whether they good or bad or indifferent, don't get in trouble by what they're exposed to. They ain't no smarter than man.
No. That's right.
The principal or the teacher just decided that man wasn't smart. So she didn't put him in advanced classes. My principal, bad as I was, put me in advanced math. And guess what happened to me? I became a math professor. See, it's all about exposure and lack of excuses. I hear everything we're saying. I'm so glad to see you feel the same way I do as a police, as an educator. I ain't saying I'm scared of them. I'm just saying they're the ones that threaten us the most. So when we going to school, I'm watching all of them, to tell you the truth. You got them all now. But the ones that have threatened us the most is the ones that we help the most.
Yes, but you know.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's good.
But you know, is when we're talking about that, and I agree. I think everybody up here is reaching out to touch. But the problem is where we may not be judging that parent because we trying to help. It's a whole lot of people are judging and they feel attacked.
Yeah. Absolutely,
and so,
I agree.
You know what I'm saying?
And I worked with some of them.
It has to get to a point to where the community, when I say the community, we have communities with 9 churches surrounding them.
That's
we have all kinds of organizations.
That's
but it's almost
say
like
that.
Everybody in the church don't even live in the community. They come in and then they go out, and then on Thursdays or Fridays they'll give out a meal or some clothes and say we help in the community. The community needs us in the projects, in the poverty.
That's a whole nother conversation.
Talking to them and helping them and showing them that we here and not just coming in, hey, we're gonna help you for an hour, but then we gone. Now you got to deal with the rest of the night. That's a lot of what we have to change with our leaders. And man, I kind of knew it, but my CEO, my owner, taught me something a little while ago. He was trying to explain to me about being a boss. He said, if you the leader, that means you are the servant. You gotta serve your people in order to make them want to serve you. But if you just sit back and say, hey, you need to roll up those sleeves, they not gonna do it because they don't have no respect. But when they see you roll your sleeves up and get down here and get dirty with them and show them what to do and teach them how to do it and be there with them, then they gonna start imitating what they see. And that's what we have to do as the leaders in the community.
How many of us find it's hard for our people? I've been doing this 20-some years. How many of us find it's harder for us to get them to know? I've been doing math for 20-some years. But you'll take a person that don't necessarily look like me or they don't even know. They come see them 2 days. How many of you find that sometimes our people would rather get the information from somebody they don't know? I mean, have y'all ever experienced that? Am I the only one up here? You have.
You're talking about your children?
No, the community. They would believe someone, because you've been knowing me. You know, Leah, with my mama, she was a drunk. I'm Frankie, I'm punking. So I don't know anything because you know where I come from. I respect your past. I respect your past. But you know what the problem is in our community when you go in it? Some of us don't respect the hustle or the past that you come from. They don't respect the fact that you used to live in the project and now that you don't anymore.
Well, Dr. Bell, that's biblical. I mean, Jesus, they didn't respect him.
Right.
He didn't get his props
Am I the
in
only
his
one that
own.
feel that though?
You're
I'm
right.
not
It's
talking
just,
about
it's
that
just a
as men.
small number that's doing it though, and that's the problem. Me, you know, a few of us going in there sharing our past and opening up. But it's a lot of teachers, it's a lot of, you know, leaders, it's a lot of business owners that don't go back and say, hey, I went through this as a child or I made these mistakes. They just coming across like, I got my suit on, I drive good, I got a good job, you need to come be like me. But they don't sit there and tell them and share the real about who they used to be and what they used to do a lot of times.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm going to step outside of the mental health and just kind of give my opinion as a parent of a 14-year-old son, and just as a parent, period. So I'm with all that's being said. I might have a little different perspective, so I might get my card revoked. But one of the things that I feel like is happening in the black community is that we have a sense of entitlement.
Talk about it.
Right? So we think about it, you know, we talk about the other races and how they have this sense of entitlement. But we as a black community, we have a sense of entitlement. Oh, trust me, I'm getting there. We have a sense of entitlement, right? Even I'll go back to the example of how as a community, like it's our responsibility to step up and assist when it comes to things that's happening in the home. Yes, you know, I am my brother's keeper, my sister's keeper. That is a part. But there's a sense of entitlement that is something that we are required to do, right? And we think about all the resources that we have, whether it's, you know, educational type panels and things of the sort. We get very little turnout, right? But when we think about it, we're giving something away, right? We're giving out free things, right?
Yeah.
We tend to run out of that, right? But we don't tend to run out of information or experiences that we can transfer. You know, a lot about our testimony is because we've been through the test, right? Our testimony isn't for everyone. So where you come from, that is to help someone that may be there or that could potentially be going there. And so when we think about that, like entitlement, I feel like is a part of our black community that we kind of need to do away with. Like we're not required, in a sense, to do the things that we do. You're not required to reach out to young men. That's just a passion and a testimony and some experiences that you've had. And I think that, you know, it goes back still to the education, to the responsibility and the accountability when it comes to the home. Right. That's just my standpoint.
Accountability, absolutely.
Right. The village is there and the village is needed, but then there still has to be a level of accountability before we get to the village. And I think that that's where the things are lost when it comes to accountability. I mean, we feed children when they come to school every day, right?
Free.
Free, right? When I went to school, sometimes I didn't have breaks, but guess what? I got my work done. I didn't cause no trouble. I listened to the teacher. I did all those things. So even in, again, coming together as a community to help, there's a sense of entitlement that we are required to do that, and it's not. There's still a responsibility that lies in the home, and that's where a lot of I feel like a lot of our issues is that the responsibility and accountability is not in the homes where it should be.
And I agree with you to an extent, to you know, but can I ask you this?
Absolutely.
Are we at so much of a disadvantage as a people that I wouldn't say that it's an entitlement, but we're playing catch up.
I got you.
You know what I'm saying? Is it fair for me to say that?
Well, here's the thing.
And that we should be willing to help one another because we're at a disadvantage. With where everyone else is, like we're here in the race. I think somebody did like a visual of it where, you know, a professor at some college, you know, he had all the you know, he asked all the questions, you know, where anybody else familiar with that? You know, he asked all the different questions.
It's the privilege line.
The privilege line.
They did it.
So are we not, you know, should we not look at the fact that we're disadvantaged and be willing to be open to our children because we're at a disadvantage? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it gives me an opportunity to clear things up, right?
Okay.
So not saying at all that we should not. We definitely should all come together. Like that is the thing. But when you talk about are we at a disadvantage, there's a perspective, right?
Perception.
When I think about entitlement. There's a perspective that we have that in a sense, and I say we because I'm speaking of the Black community, there's a shift in perspective that's necessary. So that's when I talk about the entitlement. There's a perspective that we have that it's automatic help is coming because we're, poverty, lack of resources, single parents, all those types of things. So yes, there is a perspective that we have that because of those things, we are automatically entitled to help, and that is not the case. Again, we definitely have to be a village, but it's not a sense of
I get that.
It's not a sense of responsibility in the community. It's just the help and the resources that kind of aids us in addition to some of the things that we go through.
Did anybody want to speak to that?
I like to say this. Okay, understanding the new generation right now, the disadvantages that push me personally and a lot of my guys that I used to be with or that I still talk to now, that pushed us to the game, it was all what we're speaking on now.
Yeah.
But understanding, like, I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna be open. I just left the county jail. I'm out on bond, unfortunately, right now. And I say 90% of the young guys
Thank
that
you
I
for
was
sharing
talking
that,
to,
too.
Yes.
yeah, 90% of the young guys that I was talking to, under the age of 25, they didn't have to make the decisions that they were either accused of doing or being associated with. All along went to high school and everything. I couldn't believe
Right.
it. I didn't even go to my last grade. My last grade completing was the 8th grade, and it was because of the gang act, me
Right.
being associated. So.
Right.
When I'm sitting here talking to them, I'm like, dang, what made you make the decision to even get to this point? And to me, I summed it up as it was an identity crisis. Like, you can have all these disadvantages against you, but at the end of the day, you still got to make the decision whether you're going to make your circumstances make you or you make yourself.
And is that what you experienced? What was your decision to say that this is my family and this is where I feel safe or I feel like I belong here, to turn to gang activity or the gang life?
My background, I come from a family that's very family oriented, or was.
See?
So at that time, it was just me trying to find that respect that I feel like young Black males don't have in
That's
society.
good.
Correct.
Because we already told, I don't know parents now, but my mama, she used to tell me all the time, you got 2 strikes against you. One, you're Black, and 2, you're a male.
And I tell my son that.
So it, in a sense, it end up now, because I'm aware now, it end up building inferiority in my mind. So I'm like, how can I gain the respect out here? Like,
That's
I got
good.
it in the neighborhood, but what makes society respect?
That's good.
And that's where I come from with it, And a lot of them, when you hear their stories, some of them like that too. Most of them are like that. They don't have it. It's not that they don't have nothing to eat at the house or they don't have no one
Right.
to care for them, because you can always hear them say, "Oh yeah, boy, my mama told me this," or "Cuz told me this," or
Right.
"Bro that don't bang, he told me this." But instead I turned to this, thinking this was gonna give me the avenue. And then when we send in the county jail, only people we calling is the ones that we ignored.
Wow.
That's good.
And I'm
Sir,
speaking on
sir,
that.
that's so
I
good.
know y'all talk about generations and all, but we gotta understand, like, every generation changed.
Yeah.
And I was just talking to one of my little guys at home, and I was telling him what they doing, we did it, but it was done different. So when we was coming up, we was fighting with hands, bats. So we were able to go home. Now they being exposed with guns.
Right.
But the big problem is 75% of it is social media. We'll never defeat the internet, period. Because we can do this all day, but when they go home and they can spend 2, 3 hours, 4 hours, and they watching their favorite rapper kill somebody and get back out, that's gonna corrupt any kid, man. Anyway, because it would have corrupt mine, because I was into basketball. Kobe Bryant, if I would have seen Kobe did something crazy, I would have went out there and did it. But it's just what they being exposed to.
That's good.
And
Exactly.
us as people, I'm just gonna say us, just if we ain't able to change ourselves, we ain't gonna change the community. Because she said the best.
You're right too.
I'm gonna feel some type of way if I'm gonna try to get judged by him. But if my own man, I'm trying to change the 10 people that hang around me. If I can't change myself, they ain't gonna change.
Wow.
Because I looked up to people when I was coming up. Like, I had people that I wanted to be like bad. Like, I'm like, man, them boy get money. Like, I'm finna get it.
Right.
So, but instead of them catching me then and telling me, nah, don't come this route,
They pulled you in.
they let me stay with them. So now, if I see somebody young or talented or trying to do what I did or whatever, first thing I do is they be like, I want to be like you, coach, or whatever. Now I'll be better because my paths are different from your path. So then again, when you try to talk to kids that's 15, 16 years old that done been out there by themselves, then you got a grown man come tell him what to do. First thing he gonna say is, man, you ain't, I mean, I done made it in for.
Yeah.
Because I used to tell people that, like, I mean, I even know my dad, my uncle didn't raise me, but when I was out there by myself and I went down and didn't have nobody to talk to,
Yeah.
and I had to shake back, people fail to realize once you hit the ground and you look up and ain't nobody around you, it's different once you get back on your feet. Like, it's like he said, like, I ain't respecting nobody. Like, God got me here by myself, so I'm not taking no advice from nobody.
So even when you make it, cousin, I mean, even when you pull up out of that and, like you said, shake back, you still have the mindset that you can't tell me anything.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be, like you said, it's gonna be like, it's all up to you to change. Ain't nobody gonna change it. Ain't nobody can talk to me all day, every day about anything. But once I lay down, wake back up, it's up to me to gain that knowledge.
So do things like this even help?
Right, it does if you go to the community and be yourself. Back then, I'm watching a preacher preach to me on Sunday when I was coming up.
That's right.
But
And you knew what he was doing after Sunday.
I was just about to say that.
You knew
I
what
catch
he
him in
was
the club.
Right, right.
And I'm looking at you like,
Yeah.
but you judging
They
me.
don't believe that, man.
Right.
Like, but instead of you coming to me, telling me like, this is me, you know,
This is me in the church. This
Right.
is me in the
Yeah.
club.
Right.
This me.
Because some people feel like when they behind the pulpit, they just perfect.
No.
But I'll follow any preacher with a background.
Okay, exactly.
Point blank period. Like,
Exactly.
if a preacher got a
You
background,
That is a
and
message
they get
that
a calling,
we need to be the preachers.
Right.
We preachers
Like,
need to be
that's-
preaching that. We need to be
transparent.
preaching that
yeah, that's gonna
message.
change it. And then, you know,
Because none of us are perfect.
for the kid in school, I mean, I have a motto I tell everybody, like, your childhood gonna affect your adulthood. If your mama had you young
That's
and
good.
couldn't raise you,
That's good.
once you get to that age, most people don't change. They're gonna do the same thing. Because it's just a repetitive cycle. Point blank. Like, it'll never change. And
Yeah, that's good.
the era is getting more advanced.
Right.
To where, like y'all was saying, our mama taught her to respect people.
Correct.
Because
Sure did.
when we seen adults in the room, we walked out. And
Regardless of your background and where you came
Right,
from.
you know
Because
what I'm
look,
saying?
we was on the dirt road.
yes, but when you got the social media showing kid disrespecting their mama,
Correct. And they
kid doing this,
Beating the
kid doing that.
teachers in the school.
Right, so they
and
gonna
they
go
see all of
feel like
that.
they can get away with it. But
think they
I
can get away
mean,
with it.
it's gonna be harder for anybody in this generation and further because, like I said, it get more advanced. So it just gonna take more than
So
just,
again, it's on the rise. Mr. Mosley, did you have any?
I just wanted to say that it's hard to reach guys when they get older. You got to get them when they're young because most of us up here, probably I wouldn't bet all of us done had to get it out the mud.
right,
Absolutely.
We on the struggle bus. We eating noodles. Oh, we ain't eating at all.
right,
We wondering what's going on. We trying to figure it out.
Can't get a
And
job.
once you put on that coat of hardness and hey, nobody's around, I'm pretty much doing it by myself. You develop that mindset of it's just me.
right.
And by the time you get older, who's gonna talk to you? I've been doing this by myself all my life. Nobody
Right.
can tell me nothing. I mean,
And then to speak on gang violence, like my brother right here, it's different when I'm just gonna say kids coming up don't understand the real meaning of being in a gang, and he can speak on it. We always say it's a culture. What I mean by that, that's a way of life. That's surviving for them. It's not nothing to gain stripes or gain respect. It's just they surviving off that because of where they at.
Right.
So they forms families. And see, that's what the society do to us black people when we form gangs. He done been through it. Once you get in that cell block, and then he be like, man, I just gave 10 years of my life because I just went at my other brother all about a block that I don't even own.
Yeah.
Right.
And we riding in colors, but
Wow.
if you go to where it's originated at, and like I be telling guys at home, like, y'all need to leave and go where it actually started from. And y'all will understand a lot about trying to be in the gang, because them people actually kill you on some, you say the wrong thing. Like, it's a life. I mean, they ain't really been exposed, but they just seeing it on the internet. So when they see, like I said, one of their favorite people they look up getting away with it, they gonna feel like it's all right. So we go off in the club and somebody shoot the club up and then they made 1 million views and likes.
And we looking at, they think views are important.
So sooner or later it's gonna happen sooner, closer at home.
So social media is acting like a weapon.
Right. So
It is a weapon.
with me and him being
It's
who
a
he
weapon.
It is.
The rap music is a weapon.
Right.
We don't
So
believe that, though.
Mr. Zeke, did you have something that you wanted to add to the
Yeah, I'm gonna
conversation?
inject something. I'm probably grandfather of the group. But back in the '60s, when I first born or whatever, grandma and aunties raised me, and went into the '70s, and your sisters and stuff started
Right.
raising me. You started with the rotary phone, then you went to the push button phone, from the push button phone to the bag phone, and then technology
The bag
kept
phone.
going, kept going, and it literally took over our meals.
right.
Because now you give a kid a phone when 3 years old to babysit.
3 years old.
Right.
But I didn't do that with my twins.
That's right.
They had to get in middle school, play football in order to get a phone, and the phone went on the charge at 8 o'clock every night.
Right.
Every night. They did that. They 22 now. So far they stayed out home waiting. I continue to pray for them, and I ask all you to pray for them.
Right.
Because that's the way me and my wife treat them. I grew up with a family of 7. And I got a brother 79. I mean, my 60, I'm put it like that, and thank God for that. So I'm a grandfather. And I did a lot of volunteer work in the school. I worked at West Point Elementary School, volunteered for 17 years with your wife. And I enjoyed that. I didn't have kids that time. I'm a late father. I was 41 years old when I had my first kid.
Wow.
But I enjoyed more every day. I had nieces and nephews that I went to West Point Elementary School and taught them reading. We did an accelerated reading program. We didn't have that cell phone then. So I had their undivided attention for 2 hours. I bring them a sneaker bar. I meet them at Walmart sometimes, give them a gift card.
Right.
At the end of the year, whoever had the high GPA in reading, we gave out gifts we recognized. Math, spelling, all those things.
Right.
And I have been in Walmart in the Valley. Kids come up to me and my wife and say, "Hey, there go Mr. Kimberly."
Yeah.
And that was my name, I know, but that was the company I worked for at that time. And I put that back into the community with all my kids, And I basically live in 3 counties now: True County, Meriwether County, and Harris County. I'm in that county 3 times a day most of the time. Got a business in Harris County. I live in True County. And I grew up in Meriwether County.
Oh, wow.
I did volunteer work in Meriwether County for 12 years, President Athletic Club, and KCP and all the guys come through the Mario office. But I told their parents on how to behave and how to act. Yes, ma'am, yes, sir. We had scouts in the building at night. When I was president of the athletic club, we had a coach from Alabama, we had a coach from Georgia. Everybody there, yes, ma'am, yes, sir. You could not use profanity when I'm in my presence. Now, but that be changed nowadays. I used to go to a football game and young men cuss around my wife, and I make them leave out the stand 15 years ago, 20 years ago.
But now,
I don't do that.
but now,
Hey, I move.
the children you better duck and dodge, because now the student, you better, because those bullets don't have any names on them. The children don't have any respect in the classrooms. They're cussing the teachers out, and God forbid you call a parent and let them know what's happening. We could go round and round about all of this all night.
Stuff I was gonna say, you got these boys with the felons and all the new gun laws.
Yeah.
You not gonna tell a lot of these boys because they felons, they not gonna carry their pistol.
Yeah.
They still got to move around the streets every day.
Right. And again,
you know what I'm saying? You just don't never know. So they are willing to take the chance to say, I'm gonna have mine. I'd rather get caught with it than without it.
And I want to speak to that too. And I'm sorry, Ian, for telling your business. And babe, but yeah, like you just said, you cannot tell a young man not to carry in this day and age because they feel like they have to.
Right.
And I don't care where they at, especially if they don't feel safe. Because we experienced that. We didn't know our kid felt the need to have a gun, but when we found out, He was like, what am I supposed to do when everybody else
Right. Is it
is carrying? You want me to just be out here uncovered?
And all of them ain't bad kids.
And all of
Right.
and because yeah, exactly, because he didn't tell us. We found out. We found out via getting was it a phone call or something in the mail or something telling him that his gun was in somewhere in Upper Georgia. What happened was he bought it, but it wasn't. He didn't buy it for him. But I guess they were sharing the gun. Point is, they do what they feel like they have to do, whether they're from good homes or whatever that means. And listen, y'all, we could sit here and talk all night. Yes, sir.
That baby, you're the 8th grade you. What's your name?
Ladarius.
Ladarius. I want to really speak to the 8th grade you. That's where my heart is. As an educator, because I work with 8th grade youths, and I know you older now, and I'm not calling you 8th grader. I just need you to tell me, because did y'all hear what he said? I'm up here telling y'all I'm in middle school, and this is my fight.
I heard him.
For him to say, I didn't go past the 8th grade. This is what I'm trying to get people to understand that I'm seeing every day. And that's they're exiting. What can we do for the 8th grade youth? As an educator, I know what I can do. I'm a black mama. They all respect me. I've been teaching 20-some years. Kids don't cuss me out. I don't know, I'm mean, but I'm in love. But what can my people that I work for, work with, work around, what could we have done differently with the 8th grade you? Because you having an 8th grade education in a record has done something for you. Now God gonna bring you out of everything. We believe God can do great things. Right. But we just gotta be realistic. As a young man with an 8th grade education who speaks very well, by the way.
Absolutely.
I never would have guessed that. What could we have done differently? I ain't talking about your home life, because I don't even get into that. My mama and daddy didn't do nothing for me, and the school saved me. So I don't really, the home life I'm in, because I didn't have it, and I came from nothing. So what can we do to people that have you more time a day than your parents? The schools have your children way more than you do. What could we have done?
That's a good question.
8th grade you, when you went and sought after feeling accepted, because I'm beginning to believe that your grades wouldn't have been. You weren't a straight A student, probably. You may have been, but straight A's, you think differently.
Right.
If the teachers look over you in the 8th grade, tell us do we just act like you ain't there?
What led up to it, really, I was passed through middle school for juvenile.
Passed through.
See,
I was passed through.
I knew he was, listen, teachers, I knew you were going to say it.
I was passed through, because every time I got in trouble, I ended up going to juvenile, and I mean, as long as you show up for class in the juvenile system, they pass you.
Wow. Mr. Lee, can you speak to that, because you can talk to that from your experience.
So much, my mind all over the place. But as far as that point right there,
because I know you know.
A lot of people don't want to deal with it.
Right.
So you push it out on somebody else. So I'm gonna make it easy and get them off of here. And don't deal with the consequences later. If we don't understand, if we don't take care of that child as a child and teach them how to deal with it, when they put into it, they're not gonna be able to deal with it. So yeah, it does happen that I got a nephew, got kicked out of every school, went to the got kicked out of the whole system, the whole county.
Wow.
Now they want to hold the parent accountable for that child. But now either you going to jail or their child going into the system forever.
So the system passes them through.
It fails.
And then the system is failing, but when it fails, they put it back on the parent.
Yes.
And how did
you feel being passed through though? Let's deal see, we're gonna deal with the truth. How did you feel being passed through? You didn't mind it though, did you?
Because he was young.
I didn't mind at the time. I mean, I'm still making it through.
Yes.
And it was seeming like, even when I was in prison, it was seeming like my ignorance was getting the attention that I needed.
Wow.
And at some points in time, it played a factor like, all right, as long as you don't do this, I'm gonna let you go on and get this, or if this is what you need, go ahead.
That's a whole nother issue. That's a whole nother issue. It's 7:30. I promised that we were only going to be an hour, and this is a conversation that we could have 4 hours, because again, like we started this conversation, it's layers. It's layers, and one conversation is not going to do it. But we wanted to start somewhere, like many of us. But the key is consistency. The key is boots on the ground. The key is continuing to talk and be empathetic and not, we need to be the ones that we listen but don't judge. Like the kids are saying, it may just be like a catchphrase for them, but we need to take it seriously. We need to hear what our children are saying. Before we go, I wanted to read some statistics because I don't want to, like I said, we could talk all night, but I found the statistics on gun violence. It's the end of April. These are statistics just for 2025. So we're what, we just like 4 months in, right? Okay, so the statistics for gun violence, the amount of deaths due to gun violence as of April 29th is 4,498 children. 4 months in, this is just 2025. Total injuries due to gun violence, 4 months into 2025, 7,746 total injuries. Suicides, 4 months into 2025, 60% of the deaths are suicides by guns, 4 months in to 2025. Mass shootings as of April, 81 mass shootings, 4 months in to 2025. Children killed 4 months into 2025 at the ages of 0 to 11, 77 children, 4 months into 2025. Children injured at that same age, 133. Teenagers, 4 months into 2025, from the ages of 12 to 17, 300 have been killed from the ages of 12 to 17 as of April 29th, 2025. Injured, 12 to 17 years old, 792, 4 months in. So this is what we're looking at. Yes, sir.
I just like to add one more thing. Bernard and Kevin could attest this. But a piece that probably not statistically out there is we got a problem in our neighborhood with drugs.
Right, I was just about to say.
When we go to work every morning, tell them Kevin and Bernard, we got a new perfume now.
You can smell it. That's what I was about to say.
No more,
Smell it on 85.
I'm surprised, because when I go to work, I'm scared of the employee coming in.
It's like a vapor trail.
It's 6 o'clock in the morning.
6 o'clock in the morning.
6 o'clock in the morning, you go to Walmart, same thing, you walk through the parking lot, now you almost have to kill it with a knife.
Yeah. Everybody could probably.
That goes along with the gun violence.
That's the coping tool when we go back to the ACEs, right?
Yeah.
The high
Yeah.
score.
Yeah.
So that's the coping tool that we have. So we're definitely going to see
So
that
we don't need to leave that
coping.
piece out because it becomes an alarming problem.
Yeah, but the biggest thing with the drugs nowadays, this is what a lot of people don't know. If you go talk to drug test labs that test drugs that come out in Columbus, our police department, the sheriff department, test drugs that they find and they seize. None of it is natural anymore.
Nope.
Yes.
It's laced with weed is laced with PCP,
Fentanyl.
LSD, fentanyl, horse tranquilizer, anything. The drugs come out of Mexico are basically built to cause you to be addicted to it. When we did our documentary on Columbus and gang violence, the guys that were that we interviewed that were in the gang, I mean, they were popping pills. And everything that they're taking now is so strong
Messing with their mind.
that they're messing up their mind.
That's right.
And everybody, we got them like, you want me to get off weed? No, I need you to get off weed, but you can't because you're addicted to it.
Addicted.
Because you think about it, back in the 60s and 70s, you smelled weed back then. You can walk outside, you didn't smell like it.
Yeah.
You can literally see a vapor trail coming off a car. You can follow that car from the smell. It's not the same.
And everybody
It's
could pop
engineered.
positive because of all the.
Oh my God, yeah, and it's engineered. So you know, I've got a company now. I said, can you give me the report of what you're finding in cocaine, meth, fentanyl, all these different drugs, weed? What are some of the things you find? That's what he was naming off. So nothing is natural. Everybody think they're taking, no. You getting some stuff right now, I don't know if the person even a chemist that's making it, and you taking it. And it's just causing you to be more addicted.
I would even say, and we're closing. I feel like the preacher, and I feel like I'm in the pulpit saying we closing in a minute.
We need to do a series.
Right, we do. But I do want to say this. I'm just thinking about, and we could, Kelvin and I could be watching like an episode of, I don't know, Power or something like that. This stuff is not just make believe.
No.
They getting these scripts from real life.
Yeah.
You know, and we're living it. And again, we need to be having these conversations in our homes. We need to stop acting like our children. We need to stop allowing our children to raise each other. Right. We got to stop checking out. I mean, we're checking out for a lot of reasons because we trying to keep up with one another. You know, trying to pay bills with they used to call it back in the day, keeping up with the Joneses. Right. We're doing so much of that our children are falling by the wayside. But hey, that's my personal spin on that. Did any of you men, because this is about you all, talking to our sons, and I feel like us women have done more talking than we should have, but we needed to add to the conversation. But in parting, fathers, brothers, is there anything that anybody would like to say before we end this live discussion? And I hope that we can come together again. I think that this was necessary.
I would like to say there's a lot that's out there that we got to deal with. And my brother said that, you know, it's not a light switch. Mm-hmm. But I think God gave all of us a measure. A lot of us got backgrounds of where we come from. And I think that we have to use our measure to touch people.
That's good.
We're not going to save everybody. We're not going to, gun violence is not going to get gone. Violence is not going to get gone. Touch the people you can touch. Right. God brings people in our sphere for a reason. And you have to use your measure to touch those people. And with some of the words been said, transparency, that's a big thing. Trust, building your trust with these young people to get involved with them. And I think it's a lot of parent involvement. We talk, but like he said, it's not enough feet on the ground, boots on the ground. And a lot of men saying, you know, we sit back and say, yeah, we was different. We were raised different. Yeah, we were. But we got to relate to them. A lot of times they just want to hear. They want ear to somebody that listen to them, listen to their cry. These kids are broken.
Yes.
And some of that gonna take us talking to them. Some of it gonna take counseling. Some of it gonna take some spiritual prayer with these young people. And so we got to be more hands-on with our young people. To help try to combat this what's going on. I had one guy come to my meeting, quiet guy. He wouldn't talk. He just quiet when he was to himself. And by us sharing and talking that night, he in turn come back and went and put in a day for next month to say, I'm coming back. I told my job I'm being off. I'm coming back to this session. First time. But they want to know that somebody cares. That's it. Somebody loved them. We all cried out for love. That's what you're hearing of them. Neglect, fatherless home, hurt, broken, whatever, a lot of different things. But they got to know that we care for them, not just sitting around talking about it. Yeah. We as men, and a lot of what it revolves with us, start with us, that we got to get out of ourselves and start reaching and touching these young men, touching not just young men, even our daughters. We got to touch them. The women the girls are falling for these men because they're looking for daddy in these men.
My goodness.
And daddy wasn't there, so they clinging to these people, clinging to any man that come by and say I love you, any man that come by and say, hey baby, I can give you $20.
That's it.
So, but we got to show them. I didn't know how to love my daughters. but God taught me how to love them, embrace them, and encourage them to build them up. So we got to, as this group and everybody else, everybody plays, we talking about the village, everybody plays a part. And we got to use our spirit to touch the lives of the people to help change these young people. If we don't, I mean, I know some that we ain't gonna be able to touch. Some of them we scared of, so, you know, and we got to come correct. But ask and pray for wisdom.
That's it.
God, give me what to say. I don't never know what to say. I was one, I didn't talk. I'm the last one that said something. I didn't know how to talk, but God uses me at the moment I ask God to give me something to say to this young person. But I want them to know that I love them. Let them know that we love them, that we care for them, and that you're there for them. Show up.
Yes.
And be consistent in showing up.
That's it.
They're going to build a trust with them.
Yeah.
That's good.
Now for me, I agree with you so much, especially with the father. I don't even want to get into that, but it is very important. Also, what we got to realize also is we got to catch them young.
Yeah.
We got to catch them young. We really got to catch them young, because if we're seeing this in grade school, when they get out there, it's kind of like we're behind again, just on that aspect of. So we got to catch them young. We got to also, pretty much what you said, guys, we got to get out there into the communities as well, and build that trust that somebody gonna listen to me. You know, what I haven't heard, or the answer that I've been listening to, coming from someone my age as a child, he haven't had enough experience. Some cases haven't had enough experience to give another child advice. Right. So naturally, what advice do you think you're gonna give him? TikTok.
TikTok.
That's experience. Never lived it. Transparency. You heard of that a lot. Transparency. Who you are. Now, I cannot talk to a kid about drugs, being on drugs. I can talk to a kid about not being on drugs and not turning to drugs, but I cannot talk to a kid about and we time, different background as we are now, from the community. No. Right here in the center of this floor, and men in the room, which we have state troopers, police department, men from all backgrounds again, come up reading those papers. I actually got one from a young man, and one thing we got was a 12-year-old in the room, 12-year-old asking, how do I stop thinking about suicide?
Wow.
How do I process that? Had never had that thought as a 12-year-old. Another one came up, he had on there, why did God take my big brother? And since he put God in, well, the first thing I noticed was big. And you never say big until you say, I love my brother. I look up to my brother. So that really stood out to me. And since he put God in, I had to help whoever, at the time I didn't know, with the question. God allow stuff, but also at the same time, we put all this on God, the devil do stuff too. The devil, just like the Spirit of God get in someone, the spirit of the devil will get in someone as well and cause them to walk up on someone and kill them. And another thing, that young man came up to me after the breakfast, and I was fumbling around with taking out one of the young men's bow tie because they getting ready to play basketball. He came up to me and waited on me 2 or 3 minutes. He said, "You read my question." I said, "Which one was it?" He said, "The one about my big brother." Just right there. Just that little simple.
Just being there. Just being there.
And giving the ear.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
That's what they want.
That's what they need.
They don't mind sharing. They don't mind sharing about the vaping.
Even if you don't have all the answers.
Even if you don't.
It's the big component of that is them knowing that even if they don't say anything, just knowing that somebody cares enough to have an empowerment breakfast, or to help them learn how to take a bow tie off, or say, hey, we need you to put this button down shirt on. After this, you can go play ball or whatever. They just want those, like you said, that consistency. That's what I think. I don't know about y'all. Anybody else have anything before we close? The man of my house, sir, would you like to close us out? What would you like to say?
I really appreciate all you guys taking your time, because, you know, I know you guys are busy, and of course a few guys couldn't make it, but, you know, this is a very important topic. And, you know, as men, we've also traveled this same road and wish we had somebody there for us. You know, me and Bernard talk a lot, and me and Zeke talk a lot about, you know, how, you know, to do better in the community and help these young men. But I think this is a start. You know, you guys are amazing, and I appreciate you guys coming out.
Thank you. With that being said, and the light went out, so I think the whole production is saying we ain't gotta go home, but we gotta get up out of here. But again, like my husband said, like Mr. Mosley said, thank y'all so much for your time. You all did not have to be here. Y'all didn't have to do this. Thank y'all, sisters. We really appreciate it. Until next time, I guess I'm looking at this camera, Aaron. Until next time, this has been Truth Speaks. This has been a community conversation. This has been a family meeting. You know, and hopefully we will be doing this again in some capacity. I'm not saying that it's going to be live, but I appreciate and I'm excited about what has taken place here today. It starts with conversation. It starts with showing just a little bit of love. So till next time, this has been DEE Mosley with Truth Speaks. Thank y'all so much. God bless you.